All right, step 5 says to press the seam and pocket open on outside. So outside means the right side of the fabric. Top stitch 1/4 inch from finished edge of pocket, squaring stitching to large dots. So let's kind of interpret these directions with the pictures first, and then we'll do it on our project. So in this picture, we're looking at what would be the wrong side of our pant, see, because it's not shaded in, and the right side of our pockets. And so it looks like one pocket piece is on the left and one pocket piece is on the right. So that's the pressed open step. Then it tells us on the outside, so now we're looking at the right side of our pants. So we're on the part that's gonna face out when we're wearing it. So on the outside, stitch 1/4 inch away from the pocket opening. So see how this is the opening, that little slit right there. And then the stitching is 1/4 inch away from the finished pocket edge, squaring at large dots. So that means that you're gonna bring your stitching back to your seam. So it doesn't necessarily tell you if you're doing this on the front part or the back part, but since when your hands go in your pockets will be on your thighs and not on your hamstrings. We wanna do this, or we wanna make sure that this is on the front part of our pant. The stitching is on the front part of our pant, not the back part of our pant. So I'll show you how to do that. The first thing it tells us to do is to press open the pocket. So we're back at the ironing board. We're going to kind of weirdly maneuver it so that we can open up our pocket. Now what I would recommend is going to the end of your ironing board and putting your pants, almost like dressing the ironing board. You're gonna put your pants over the end, and then having your pocket, or the opening for your pocket, right there in the center. Okay, so now you're kind of looking at it sideways here, a pocket piece here and a pocket piece here with the opening because I didn't stitch in between the dots here. All right, so I'm just going to give this a light press. You want your seams to be kind of on the edge of the fold. Now we need to figure out which is the front of our pants and which is the back of our pants. And it will help if we put a pin in before we go do the other side. So in order to tell the front and the back of the pants, the easiest way I can tell you is to open them. So what I mean to open them up is to hold them at the waistline or where we sewed our pockets on and look on the inside of them. You should be able to tell, and it might be difficult on mine. I should have picked a solid fabric. But on mine, I can tell that the back swoop, so the curved edge, this one in my right hand is bigger than the one in my left hand, meaning the left one is my front. Okay, so you'll have to look on the inside and look where, basically where that seam is. This section of fabric is bigger on my pants than this section. So I know that this is the front. So if you want to, you can always mark this by putting an F with chalk or lightly with a pencil onto, or you could even just stick a pin in, or a safety pin, and just know like these are the front pieces. So I have this little chalk guy here, so I'm gonna put an F here and an F here because these are my two fronts. So I know that's the side I'm gonna be sewing on. Okay, so mark that, figure out which side is your front, and then when you are ironing your pocket open, you know which side you're gonna sew it on. So let me get this ironed, and then just temporarily, I'm gonna take them out when I actually go to sew, but just temporarily, I am going to pin this front part of the pocket to the front of my pants. And then to make sure my back one stays in place, I'm gonna pin the back one to the back. All right, so now we need to flip it over and do the other side. Again, I have the F here marked for front. Open up your pocket pieces. And iron. And then because this one is my front piece, right, I have that yellow F on there, I'm going to just temporarily put a couple pins in to hold it in place. So I know when I turn this right side out, I know exactly what side I'm sewing on. And then one in the back just to hold this open. So that second part of our direction, because we have two pictures, tells us to press the seam and the pocket open, which we just did. And so now on the outside, so on the right side of the fabric, we're gonna top stitch 1/4 inch from finished front pocket edge, squaring stitching 2 large dots. So I'm gonna turn my pants right side out. And now you'll see why I put the pins in, but now I can tell which side I'm sewing. And you are going to stitch out, down, and then back across. I'll take you to the sewing machine and show you how that's done. For this step, I switched back to a normal stitch, no stretch stitch or anything. And you may find it easier to take this part of your machine off so that the rest of your pants can kind of fit underneath the machine as we're sewing this pocket opening. So just as a reminder, you're going to stitch starting from the dot or the top of the opening. You're gonna stitch out, down, and then back in. So for instance, we don't wanna put our pocket in like this because then we're only stitching down. We want to square it, which means we're going to start by going at a right angle to our pocket opening. I'm going to go ahead and take that pin out that I put in earlier. And I'm going to take a couple stitches. I'm going to back stitch just like normal, but I'm only going out a couple stitches because you're sewing this at 1/4 inch away from the pocket opening. So I'll try to zoom in so you can see exactly what I'm doing and where I'm lining it up. If I pivot right now, I probably went a little bit too far. So I'm just gonna back stitch 2 stitches so I can back it up, and now I can pivot. So I'm gonna lift up, I didn't cut anything. I lift up my presser foot, I pivot the fabric around the needle, my needle's still in my fabric, and now I'm going to continue sewing straight down in front of the pocket about 1/4 inch away. If you have to, do this at 3/8 and line it up with the edge of the presser foot. 1/4 inch would probably be, if you look at your presser foot, there's like a separation between the metal and the plastic. That would probably be closer to 1/4 inch. But if it's at 3/8, it's not gonna make a big difference. Just do it so that it's a straight line. Now, when you get to the bottom of the pocket or the other dot, you're going to stop, pivot your fabric now the other way. So now you're going towards your seam, but again, perpendicular. Put down your presser foot and then stitch to the opening or where that dot is. I know the dot's on the inside, and then reverse stitch. You only need to do it on the front pieces of your pocket. So that would be this one. We don't need to repeat it on this side because this is our back piece. We do need to repeat it on the other leg. Okay, so I just sewed this down on one leg. This is my front with one pocket piece. This is my back with the other pocket piece. We don't need to sew that down. Okay, so just on the front. It's laid out. I have stitching on the front pocket on the right side, or my right side when I'm wearing it, and then stitching on the left leg pocket, but no stitching on the back. So you only need to sew the pocket to the front pieces, not the back pieces. Let's sew our pocket closed.